8 days ago, I went for my last outdoor bike ride for a little while. I'm itching to get back out there, but first, there's the rehab. I've made this video to show you what happens on the day of total hip replacement surgery and the progress that can be made in the first week after the surgery. And for those of you that make it to the end of the video, no skipping ahead, I'm watching you, there'll be a special surprise. Prior to my surgery, I was having a lot of trouble. I could barely stand for more than a few minutes to treat patients, to work at the kitchen bench, doing anything useful. I was basically trying to stand on one leg to get the pressure off the left side. I was getting stinging, searing pain down my left thigh from the hip all the way down to the knee. And for many years, I thought that my knee pain that I was getting on this left side was local, but it's not, it's referred. Couldn't get my socks on in the morning, can't reach my feet to get dressed. At night time, waking 10, 20 times a night in pain. Lying on my back, I've got to have this big, fat, huge pillow under my knees to release the pressure on my hips. I can't lie flat otherwise. I really wanted to try and hold on a little bit longer. 52 is very young to be having joint replacement surgery, but I just can't deal with these symptoms any longer. They're affecting me at work, they're affecting me at home, they started to affect me on the bike. No good. So eventually I've relented. I found a wonderful orthopaedic surgeon and I booked myself in. Do you remember the last time you were really hungry? I mean, starving, ravenous? I do. It was on Monday, the day I was admitted to hospital. So I was told I needed to be there at 12 p.m, midday. I was told I could have a light meal at 6 in the morning, but I had a rough night, didn't get out of bed in time, and I missed my window for a snack. So when I got to the hospital at 11:30, then they said there's going to be a bit of a delay. So I'm taken into my room, I'm changed, I'm lying there in my hospital gown, my hip's killing me, my tummy's rumbling, and eventually at 3 o'clock, I haven't eaten since 7 p.m. the night before. 3 o'clock, they wheel me in. When you have a general anaesthetic, they slide a little cannula into your hand, they start delivering the sleepy juice, and off you go to La La Land. I was advised though that I should have this operation done under a spinal anaesthetic, where you're only numb from the waist down. They still give you some gas to make you drowsy so you don't remember anything. But I wasn't convinced. I'll admit, at first I was afraid. I was petrified. A few days later, after my operation, I spoke to another patient on the ward and she said she didn't have the gas. She stayed awake for the whole operation. She watched the whole thing on the monitor. No. Later I found out she's a theatre nurse. Waking up from a spinal anaesthetic is a bit of a laugh. Absolutely no movement control and no feeling at all in the legs, and it slowly starts to creep back. Initially I could get a little twitch response in my quadricep muscles, and then my right toe started twitching a little bit, but not on my left. And I was told I needed to pump my ankles, which is typical advice after surgery. I could do it on the right, but I couldn't get anything on the left, so I had to use my right foot to support my left and pump it that way. A nurse kept coming in with a cold bag of ice and testing my sensation up and down my leg, and for a while I didn't feel anything at all. But by about 9 o'clock, all of the muscles had started responding, albeit weakly, and the sensation had now returned. Day one is all about getting out of bed and walking for the first time. Now, considering barely 12 hours ago, my legs were limp, lifeless, and incapable of doing anything much, I didn't know what to expect, but you know, I'm young, fit, and I'm a physio, so I've got to excel here, right? On the first day, I managed about 10 meters of walking just out the door of my room and back on the rollator frame. Crucially, I remembered not to faint and not to fall over, so gold star for me. Bed exercises are so uninspiring, but when you're stuck in hospital, there's really not much else to occupy you, so I was pretty compliant. I'm a physio, so I've got to lead by example, right? So I did my toe wiggles and more of my ankle pumps and quadricep squeezes and knee extensions and knee bends, and tried some hip lifts. They're a little bit harder. The two exercises I had the most trouble with were the leg slides out to the side and the knee bends up towards my chest. I think I still had a little bit of muscle inhibition. I don't know if that was from the trauma of the surgery or the inflammation and the swelling in the muscles afterwards, but those two exercises were a real challenge. On the second day, I made impressive progress, discarding my rolling frame and instead starting to use the walking stick that I borrowed from my mother. This was very handy because I needed to increase the length of my walks because I needed a real coffee. Despite this being a private hospital in one of the most affluent suburbs in my city, for some reason it is deemed appropriate and adequate to serve little tubes of Nescafe Blend 43 coffee. So one floor below me, there is a proper cafe within the hospital right next to the main reception area. It's about a 50-metre walk to the elevators from my hospital bed, catch the elevator down, 10 metres from the elevator to the cafe, and then I've got to make it back again. Now, being an athlete, I've kept my eyes on the prize and I've made it down there for a delicious and long-awaited long black. So good. The surgeon had told me what his criteria were for discharge and particularly for early discharge. There were 4 things that he required. So number 1 was my pain was under control, tick. Number 2, that the wound was in good shape, healthy, tick. Number 3, that I was walking and getting in and out of bed comfortably, tick. Number 4, bowels were open. 3 out of 4 is not bad. The problem with this is, you know you're full, you can feel the pressure building, but it just doesn't arrive. And then it does. And no one has been this excited by a splashdown in the loo since Guy Pearce in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I'm going home today. My first night home was generally comfortable, but I'm certainly missing the overhead gooseneck and the lifting handle that you use to help you turn and move in bed. I'm getting the hang of walking with the walking stick and even slowly managing stairs. Although I'm leaning on the stick fairly heavily and I can't really step through without it, I know that it makes me look more worldly and gentrified. By day 6, I'm feeling considerably better. I've actually stopped taking any painkillers at all. I've got 0 pain at rest, which I find completely fascinating. Sure, my hip feels a little bit stiff and restricted when I try and move, but really, I'm very comfortable. I've got a 15-centimetre scar on my leg where they've cut me open. They've chopped off a piece of bone and they've reamed out another piece. They've hammered and screwed in metal components, and yet within a week, it's really not painful. I'm now able to walk at pretty much normal speeds with my stick, and I can even manage a few steps without it, although as you can see, I do start to limp noticeably when I don't use it. I can take stairs now on either leg, and most importantly, I no longer need a toilet seat raise. That's right, I can get my derriere down and up off a standard height toilet without requesting a forklift. So I'm really thrilled with my progress. I've got very little pain and it's very rewarding to know that I've made the right decision. All of the real major symptoms that I had just 1 week ago are now becoming a distant memory. And every time I walk past the room where my Trekker is sitting on my indoor trainer, I can hear my name being called. If I glance over my shoulder, I wonder what it would feel like to set up my little IKEA steps next to the bike and carefully climb up and just... That'll need to wait a little bit longer. I'm not doing anything without my surgeon's permission. Do you remember at the start of this video, I said that at the end there'd be a surprise? Well, if you're one of the first 3 people to leave a comment below, specifically referencing the movie Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, I will give you a special, personal, and heartfelt shout out in my next video.